I didn't realize someone had been in the bathroom until I saw my own name written in the steam. It was late September, about 6 months ago. I was in Asheville, North Carolina for a long weekend. One of those solo trips you plan when you've been staring at the same four walls too long and just need to be somewhere different. I found a small Airbnb cabin about 15 minutes outside the city. Wooded lot, gravel driveway, no close neighbors. The listing called it a cozy retreat. Fireplace, 1 bedroom, a little deck out back facing the tree line. The reviews were good. Mostly couples, a few solo travelers. The host, a woman named Diane, had a response rate of 100% and over 45-star ratings. I booked it for 3 nights. Arrived Friday afternoon around 4 p.m. The cabin was exactly what I'd hoped for. Warm inside, clean, smelled like cedar and a little bit of wood smoke. I brought in my bags, found a welcome note on the kitchen counter from Diane with the Wi-Fi password and trash instructions, and spent the first hour just unwinding. I made tea, sat on the deck, watched the light go flat through the trees. By 7 p.m., I had a fire going and felt genuinely relaxed for the first time in weeks. The first thing I noticed, I almost didn't register at all. I went to take a shower before bed. The bathroom was small but clean. White tile, a single window above the toilet with frosted glass, a basic vanity mirror above the sink. I turned on the shower, waited for it to warm up, and while I was standing there I noticed the mirror was slightly foggy. Not fully, just a soft haze along the bottom left corner, like the last traces of steam from a shower someone had taken an hour ago. I ran my finger through it, wiped it clean, told myself the cleaning crew had probably used the shower to check the water pressure. Or maybe it had just been a humid day. The cabin was old, the ventilation wasn't great. Completely explainable. I showered, went to bed, slept fine. Saturday morning was beautiful. I drove into Asheville, walked around, had breakfast, came back to the cabin around 2 p.m. Spent the afternoon reading on the deck. Nothing felt off. The woods were quiet in that full, natural way, birds, wind in the branches, the occasional distant car on the road. I cooked dinner, poured a glass of wine, watched a movie on my laptop. Around 11 p.m., I locked the front door, checked the back door, and went to bed. I woke up at 3:40 a.m. No sound that I could identify. Just awake, suddenly, the way you are when your body decides sleep is finished. I lay there for a moment, and that's when I heard it. A sound from outside, not dramatic, not threatening. Just a slow, deliberate crunch of gravel, like footsteps, moving along the side of the cabin. I stayed still and listened. It stopped after maybe 4 or 5 steps. I waited, a full 2 minutes of silence. Then I heard it once more, 2 or 3 crunches, then nothing. I told myself it was an animal. Deer move through wooded areas at night. Raccoons, foxes. The gravel driveway ran close to the cabin wall. Completely normal. But I didn't fall back asleep easily. I lay there another 40 minutes before I drifted off. Sunday morning I was quieter than the day before. Not scared, just slightly on edge in a way I couldn't fully justify. I made coffee, sat inside instead of on the deck, and opened my laptop. Around 10 a.m. I went to shower. I turned on the water, waited for it to heat up, looked at the mirror. There were letters in the fog. Not random marks, not smearing. Actual letters, drawn with 1 finger, clean and deliberate. My first name. I stood there for a long moment, just staring at it. My full first name, written in the steam in the bottom right corner of the mirror. 3 seconds later, the condensation shifted slightly, and it started to blur at the edges, but it was unmistakable. I hadn't written it. I hadn't touched the mirror, and it hadn't been there the night before. I'd used this mirror before bed, and it was completely clear. My chest went cold in a way I can only describe as a full-body realization. Not panic, just a sudden, absolute certainty that something was wrong. I turned off the shower, got dressed, and walked through the entire cabin slowly, opening every door, every closet. Checked under the bed, checked the small storage room off the kitchen. Nothing. No one. Everything exactly in place. I went outside and walked the perimeter of the cabin. That's when I found it along the left side wall. Where the gravel was thinner, I could see the impression of boot treads in the soft dirt beneath. 2 sets of prints, close together, facing the cabin wall, facing the frosted bathroom window. Someone had been standing there, at night, looking up at the window, or at least standing close enough to it that they could reach the exterior sill, which, I now noticed, had a simple latch that didn't lock from outside, but the window could be pushed open from the right angle. I didn't wait. I went inside, grabbed my bag, packed in under 10 minutes, and left. I called the non-emergency line from the car and gave them the address and what I'd found. They sent someone out to check the property. The officer I spoke to on the phone later that afternoon told me they'd found boot prints consistent with what I described in a section of underbrush about 30 feet back in the tree line that had been flattened like someone had been sitting or crouching there for a period of time. They found a small pile of cigarette butts. No tent, no permanent setup, but clear signs of repeated presence. I asked how my name could have been on the mirror. The officer was quiet for a moment. Then he said it was possible someone with access to the property had been inside before I arrived, or between my first and second night while I was out. The front door lock was a standard key lock, not a smart lock. Diane, the host, confirmed that a former property manager she'd stopped working with 8 months earlier still had a key that had never been returned. That man was identified, questioned, and eventually charged with criminal trespassing and stalking. It turned out I wasn't the first guest he'd done this to. Diane lost her listing. I never heard from her directly. I haven't stayed in a cabin rental since. Maybe I will again eventually, but I know now that I'll never book a place with a key lockbox instead of a smart lock. And the first thing I'll do, before I unpack a single thing, is check every window latch myself, especially the ones with frosted glass.